All right, welcome to coding vlog number 5, and it looks like I have to re-record this one. I just did it. It was about a 12-minute recording, and everything was really quiet. So here we go again. Today we're going to be talking about my first week at General Assembly. As some of you know, I am going to General Assembly coding bootcamp. I think they're based out of New York. Could be wrong. They have a campus there at least. This week's been interesting. I have had a lot of fun, I've had a lot of confusion, and I've had a lot of work. I basically wake up every morning around 8 a.m., get ready for class at 9, sit in class from 9 to 5, get my girls picked up, and take them to cheer practice, sit in my car from 6 to 8 and do homework. Come home, maybe finish that up if it's not done, and then come on down and play some games till midnight just to get back up and do it all again. So I've been busy, busy, busy. But it has shown some results, and I'm happy with where I'm at for the most part. I've learned a lot of things, but I also have been confused on a lot of things, and I think that's a good spot to be in for one weekend. So this week we talked a lot about JavaScript. We did some work in the terminal, learning how to make directories and files, as well as remove them, copy them, move them around, add some text to text files without actually opening up a text editor using Echo. Um, and then our big project for the week, after we covered for loops, while loops, in loops, and any other type of loop that you can imagine, we were tasked with creating a game of high-low. Here's a King of Hearts. Is the next card going to be higher or lower? You pick, it tells you whether you're right or wrong, keeps a score, lets you know whenever you're out of cards, etc. That was about the hardest thing we've done so far. And we all kind of pulled together as a group. My cohort has been great. For some reason, we have been dubbed the Hummingbirds. Naming convention, I don't know, guys. Speaking of, special shout out to Nida, who I assume will be watching this after I send her a link in, I don't know, an hour, or whenever I get this done, uploaded, and then get the link. So, aside from that, we definitely did some JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and that's where we're going for the majority of this content today. For the weekend, we were tasked with creating a single page or single column CSS layout for a web page. I did some stuff that is probably not the best convention, but had to because I don't know how to use Flexbox yet, and I'm not super well versed in backgrounds. I did a lot of Googling. Thankfully, the copy and paste was minimal, and I did call it out anyway. So let's get into that. I'm going to bring up my code editor, and I'm not going to do any coding because I've already done it, but we're going to take a look at it, and it's going to be a good time. So I'll go ahead and I will scroll through this while I talk about it. If you want to pause the video at any point to take a look at anything in particular, by all means, feel free, but I'm not going to stick on it too long. All right, so the HTML. For the HTML, I basically just have a little bit of the boilerplate here. I brought in a font family, great. Title, or links for my nav bar that are clickable. I did make that functional. We go into my heading. I decided to make this project. It was supposed to be based on a kind of a portfolio page, just kind of an about me, here's my projects, blah, blah, blah. I decided to roll with Aniplex Studios, just one of my favorite anime studios, and pretend as if they were a small business entity, and just go ahead and make their kind of like about me, and then add a couple screenshots of some popular animes that they've. So some lorem in there for the about column, and then we get down, and I kind of went unorthodox. I was having trouble getting the pictures to. I put them as position absolute at first and pasted them to the four corners of their div, and I really wanted to get them closer together. So once I did, then I was having a problem because whenever I would go and spread the screen out any wider, they would go display inline. So I split them into the overall div class for pictures, then one for my top two because I want them to be in a grid of 4, and then another div for my bottom 2, and just classed them pix 1 and pix 2. So I could manipulate them to be displayed as inline within their div, but blocked separately. And then when I went down to the form fill, I was going to Google how to use the inputs properly, But when I did, I ended up coming across the code for the form fill. So I pasted that in and then edited it out. It had fewer fields than I needed, so I added an extra one, changed the labels, etc. So it's not pure copy paste, but um, I changed some of it. And then that is it for the HTML. Moving over to the CSS, I spent most of my time tinkering with the background image. I had a lot of trouble getting it to stay covering the whole screen. I mean, I understood the commands to do it were like background size cover, but it wasn't working for me. And I saw that you could use the shorthand if you went background image and then put the URL in. At the end of the line, you were supposed to be able to put other things like no repeat or fixed. So whenever I would put like center, no repeat fixed, all that happened was my background image would just delete entirely. So I don't know how I ended up getting that done, but I did, so there's that. Um, then for the rest of it, I did find out about text shadow, which was great, because I wanted to go with that full background image, and if you do an image that has too vibrant of colors, or it's too bright or too dark, or has both in the same image, as you scroll through, no matter whether you put the text as light or dark, it's going to be hard to read. So I went with white text, and I put text shadow onto it. Sorry, it's getting late. I'm getting tired. I just wanted to get this done because I haven't uploaded in, I think, over a week. And before I start my second week and everything's still fresh, I wanted to get this out to you guys. So for the rest of it, we just input a font family. Great. And I did some wonky padding stuff. Like, to get my nav bar to line up right and to get some of my sections to line up right, I ended up using just like view width and view height, and using it on the margins and the padding. And there's gotta be a more responsive way. I mean, it works well enough because rather than using pixels, I'm using a percentage of the screen. So that's great, but I didn't really understand how to use EM. Like, I understand that EM is based off the font size, and one EM, if it's 16 pixels, would be, like, if you put one EM, it would be 16 pixels. But again, not responsive. I don't understand why you would use it yet. I'm sure it'll be explained in the future, and Flexbox might have made my job easier on this entire project. But I do not know how to use it. They say we're going to go over it next week. I didn't want to get ahead of myself, and I was really determined to get this done with the tools that I already have in my toolbox, because I know it can be done, so I wanted to. Um, so past that, we get down, there's a little media query to control uh, responsiveness as the screen shrinks. So that being said, let me go ahead and bring up the browser. Oh, sorry, let's bring up the website itself first. Oh, it is already up. I left it up from my last recording. Great. So I'll bring that up, and here we are. So I guess the play slid out of focus there. There we go. So alright, screw it. That's good enough. So, navbar does work, as I said. So if we click the About link, we go to About, we click Works, we go down to the Projects, we go to the Contact, takes us to the Contact. Great. I do enjoy the background fix property that allows that image to stay while I scroll. And as you can see, the text shading made it work out real well. Everything is pretty easy to read. Um, I'm not sure if I should have put border radiuses on these images and spread them out a little, but I kind of liked it all centered and just with a little bit of padding on the insides. Um, that being said, I mean, I did look at one of my classmates' projects after I was done, and hers looks a little more professional than mine. And she did stick with the About Me type page, and it looks good, but I was really fixated on getting this background image. I wanted to do a background video at first, and I looked up how to do it. There was probably 15, 20 lines of code involved. And whenever I got it in there and I edited over to the proper link and what I wanted in there, it just kept saying that the connection to YouTube was refused or it was blocked, and I wasn't sure that it would work if I were to try and ship it. So I just didn't sad about it. But I was thinking about maybe like taking a scene from one of their animes that was like a battle scene, lay it like two paragraphs down on the, or sorry, 2 layers down on the Z index, and then put a whole screen background of like charcoal gray and make it translucent at -1, and then that way we would kind of have this privacy screen effect over it. So I thought about it, but ultimately this was just easier, and I wasn't sure the other thing would work in the first place. So that being said, that's about it for that project. um, I didn't. I thought about showing the JavaScript project that we had earlier this week, and in the end, I just decided not to bother with it. Um, I preferred to see a wall of my own code, and taking a step back and seeing that I wrote 200 lines of code for this from scratch was just a great feeling. Like, it seems like a lot whenever I look at it in terms of numbers, but it didn't seem like a lot while I was doing it. And I mean, I'm fine with that, and it's a good feeling. So about I think going back to GA just a little bit. So far, my classmates have been awesome. We've had a great cohort. Anytime anybody's got a question, everybody's on top of whether it's in Slack or in class. People are always jumping in to help out. Um, I had a nice conversation with Nida, our student success person, about this whole YouTube thing. Ironically, I didn't want to hop into any legal issues by, showing IP or anything. And my instructor is the most patient guy on the face of the planet. I swear to you, he is like he'll take 5 minutes explaining something verbatim. He'll say something like, I could make it a negative number on the Z index, and that would put it behind everything. And the moment he's done speaking, somebody goes, so can I make it a negative number and it'll go behind stuff? Or like he explains that with VS Code, you can type an exclamation point and hit tab, and that will populate the HTML boilerplate. And 4 times in a row, people kept stopping him in less than 30 seconds saying, hey, wait, how did you get that to appear? And rather than being frustrated or being a smartass about it like I would be, he just goes, oh, sure, cool. So it's just exclamation point, tab. And just, he has nerves of steel. Like, I would be terrified to see him angry. I have no idea what he would do. Well, I mean, for remote, so I guess he wouldn't do anything. But you get the idea. That being said, um, I realized a couple of ago I'm sitting here playing video games, and I was thinking about tomorrow, and I was like, I'm kind of excited to wake up, get back to class, learn something new. And I haven't felt that way in a while, guys. Not about like learning, but like being excited to wake up in the morning and do what I'm doing today. I have been dragging my feet back and forth to work for a few years at a factory job that I hated, who didn't appreciate its employees, who didn't take care of its employees, who took, 6 months past your annual just to give you your annual raise, insisted that, you know, the company's losing money while they're paying like the minimum on the industry. It was terrible. And I was not happy, but it paid the bills, so I went back and forth to it. Once I lost that job, I decided, time for me to take a beat and do something good for myself and learn something that makes me marketable and makes me like what I'm doing. And of course, I have seen channels like Josh Fluke, um, or Tech Lead, both of whom will have very different styles of cynicism, but both of whom basically have expressed that major corporations in the tech industry are just as bad as the ones in the manufacturing industry. And while I believe that that is true, at least I'll be getting paid double what I was before. I just, I'm really hoping that in the end, this is all going to be worth it. And I think it will. I'm not being a pessimist. But you see all these videos, all these people who out on YouTube talking about, how Facebook and Google have the golden handcuffs, hate your job whenever you're software dev and your salary and you work all this extra overtime. And I got to be quite honest with you, I'm a 40 hours a week kind of guy. Like, I've got 4 kids, they're in extracurricular activities. I am happy to come to work and put in my 40. But after that, leave me alone. That's just who I am. Now, I end up having to do a little extra, but I know that my schedule is going to be more flexible, and I plan on taking remote jobs only. We'll see how it goes. But going back to waking up and being excited to do what I'm doing, if you haven't experienced this in your recent life, and it's for more than, just because you've got something temporary going on, maybe you have a summer gig that you only had to take because you need to make ends meet for this month or whatever, fine. Okay, struggle through it. But if you are in a dead end job that you if you are working, 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you are just dragging yourself there and you hate it, please, I urge you, do something for I'm unemployed at the moment, and I can't tell you the last time I felt this. I don't want to be unemployed, but I'm working on that. I'm gonna get somewhere. I am somewhere where I'm working to better myself, and in a couple months, I start looking for a job in a new industry, and who knows? I might write the next big piece of programming that changes your life with Alexa. I don't know, but just if you have a dream, follow it. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't say that this is. I've been thinking about it for about 10 years, but I've never taken the time to commit. I'm glad that I have. So, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If there's anything that you want me to cover, if there's any questions you have about coding bootcamp, if there's anything you want to know about what it's like to lose your job and just change jobs into tech, leave it in the comments below. Ask anything you want. I'll get to it in the next video, I promise. And enjoy the ride, guys.